chapter of the AIA, and it is wonderful to see lots of students in the audience. I know we're bribing you with extra credit points, but I'm the president of the Fresno County Archaeology Society. I've been a member and a vice president and a president for about as long as I've been here. I think dinosaurs were walking the earth when I started doing the Fresno County Archaeology Society when I came here. And it's a wonderful organization. You can, amazingly enough, once your class is over and you're no longer getting extra credit, our talks continue on. And so if somewhere along the line you get interested in archaeology, it's a great way to find out more about archaeology and be involved. It's a great organization. We have field trips, and we have parties, and a scholarship even. So I like to say that we put the public in public archaeology, and so you can, our talks are always free, but they can be guilt-free if you are a member. And so if you go up and talk to Suzanne in the front row, she can give you some information on becoming a member. It's not very expensive. Okay, so Saam, you want to talk about the upcoming talks?
So the upcoming talks for, we have bonus talks this month. We have 2 more bonus talks. So one would be on the Philippine archaeologists, and another one would be Professor John Pryor talking about his granddad, 25 years of granddad excavation. I think that's amazing.
This is our 25th anniversary of doing a field school, and so I'm going to talk about 25 years of granddad.
So that would be on April 24th. So that would be the last Monday of this month, and that would be in person in this room again. Okay, so, and in May we have one more talk by the professor from UCLA, Professor Nair. So she's going to come here and give a talk in this room again. So that would be May 1st. That would be the last one of the season that we have. And then we have to wait until the end of the summer to have it again in September. So I'm going to make an announcement about that again through the newsletter. So without further ado, I would like to, it's my job to introduce the introducer. So I would like to introduce you to Professor Joan Sharma. She is the professor of art and at our department, at the Departments of Art, Design, and Art History here at Fresno State. She coordinated 2 study tours in India, including the legendary Matupani. And she organized several concerts and workshops with prominent classical Indian musicians here at Fresno State as well. So our society is very humbled to have a distinctive scholar of the arts of India introducing our speaker tonight. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, Saam. We're so fortunate to have you in our department. Good evening, everybody. Bridge and I have been married for about 30 years, and I'm still learning new things about India after all of this time. So I respect his knowledge and experience, and I've been very fortunate to be able to travel with him privately and with the tours to India. So I'd like to introduce my husband, Brijesh Sharma. Brijesh was born and raised in Agra, about a mile from the Taj Mahal. After his BA degree from St. John's College in Agra, he studied and received the Government of India tourist guide license in Jaipur, where he worked as a freelance tourist guide. He then moved back to his home city, Agra, where he worked for the largest local travel agency. He guided individuals and escorted groups from international companies such as American Express, Thomas Cook, Kuoni, Jet Tours of Air France, and many others. He was favored by the Government of India for their VIP guests and by foreign embassies and cultural centers like US Information Service and the British Council. Later, he studied the German language in Zurich, Switzerland, and after additional education in commerce and banking, he worked for 17 years in international and Swiss banks. Between 1980 and 1999, he operated a home-based travel agency, Indian Reisen, in Zug, Switzerland, in the German language, for individual and family tours to explore natural areas and cultural sites in India and Nepal. In 2006, he registered India Traveler in Fresno, California, and is operating private and group tours. It's my pleasure to introduce Brijesh Sharma.
Thank you. So I'll be presenting a PowerPoint, and it's organized as if you are going with me to the Taj Mahal. So we'll be entering from the east because after about 1975, all the hotels were on the eastern side. So about 90% of the tourists come from the eastern gate of the Taj Mahal. There are 3 gates, one in the east, one in the west, and one in the south. And the south gate is very popular with backpackers and people who want to travel very cheap. There you can find hotels which are about $10 a night. But amazingly, some of those hotels have beautiful restaurants, rooftop restaurants. So people staying in 5-star hotels come to eat in these no-star hotels. So I'll start with the first slide. The 5th Mughal Emperor Shahjahan built this monument, which is a mausoleum, and it was built only for one person, his wife. So there was actually originally not planned for any other person to be buried in there. But as it would happen, he was arrested by his own son and kept in prison for 8 years, last 8 years of his life. And when he died, he was immensely popular in the town capital, but the emperor, his son, had moved to central India, about 1,000 miles away. And because the emperor was so popular and he had been kept a prisoner, the son was afraid that there might be a revolt, so they didn't want a procession for the funeral. So his body was actually brought in a boat from the fort and taken through the rear gate of Taj Mahal. Behind the Taj Mahal there is the river, and there is one gate opening into the Taj Mahal with 2 staircases going up. And earlier actually people could come up, but now because of security they have closed those doors. We'll be saying that later. So everything in the Taj Mahal is symmetrical. So whatever you see on the left, you'll see on the right, except the king's grave, which was not intended. It was made later. So it's on one side, on the western side. And then in the Muslims pray facing the mosque, facing Mecca in the west. So on the western side, there is a building which is used as a mosque, and that faces west, and it's designed to have placemats made out of red sandstone with white marble border, where each devotee can sit and pray. Whereas on the other side there is a symmetrical building which looks from outside exactly the same, but inside it's completely, it's not functioning as a mosque. So And the other odd thing in the Taj Mahal is the Queen's temporary grave. So the Queen actually lived with Shahjahan for 19 years. So wherever he went for wars or anywhere, she was always with him. And she was his closest advisor. And in 19 years, she was almost always pregnant, had 14 children. The last child was a daughter, Gohar Ara Begum. The daughter survived, but the mother died. And they kept the body there for 6 months till they decided for the place for Taj Mahal, and then they brought the body here. And there is a 4-part garden, as you see here, 2 parts, and 2 parts are on the other side. And on that side, there is a rectangular red stone square. Inside that, the temporary grave of the Queen was there. So she was buried there for about 2-3 years till the ground part of the building was ready, and then her body was placed in where it is now. Now, the builder of the Taj Mahal was the 5th Mughal emperor. The Mughal dynasty started with Babur, who was born in a place called Andijan in Uzbekistan in the eastern part. And there was a kingdom at that time which was called Ferghana, and his father was the ruler of that kingdom. So Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur was his name, and he was born February 14, 1483. Now you would notice that there are exact dates that I'm quoting. This is because the Mughals were very particular about having biographies. 2 Mughals wrote their own biography by their own hand. Babur himself started writing at the age of 11 when he was crowned, and he continued almost up to his death. And the original biography was written in Uzbek language, which was called Turki, and the 3rd Mughal emperor had it translated in Persian. So most of the editions of Baburnama that you find nowadays in British Museum and other museums, they are all in Persian language. The original one is in Uzbekistan in Turki language. On the father's side, he was descendant of Sultan Timur Beg. Timur was a very ferocious warrior who had conquered almost all of South Asia, Persia, and a little bit of Europe, even eastern part of Hungary. And on the mother's side, he was the 13th descendant of Mongol Chengiz Khan. And the clan which descended from them, they became very literary prominent, and even the ladies used to be educated, very highly educated. So Babur's grandmother and mother were both very proficient in Turki and Persian language, and they taught Babur the language, and they actually introduced him to write, or rather encouraged him to write his own biography in Turki language. So at 11 years of age, his father died and he was placed on the throne. So the Baburnama is written exactly on the date on which Babur was crowned in 1494. And as a teenager, Timur had his capital in Samarkand, and Samarkand was at that time the most beautiful city in Asia, and Babur had always a desire to conquer that city and become emperor of that area. So he went to Samarkand, and the first war he won very easily, and remained in Samarkand for about 6 months. But then within the family there were a lot of quarrels, and his own family members betrayed him, and he had to abandon Samarkand. And he tried 3 times. The third time, actually, when he lost Samarkand and was on his way back to his own kingdom in Fargana, his own cousins actually also took over Fargana and threatened his life. So he had to run from there also. And he went on horseback almost 600 miles to the border of Afghanistan. And in his biography he has written that he was so tired that he fell asleep on the shore of the river, and he had a dream that in the dream a Sufi saint who was present at the time of his birth came and told him that he should not return to Uzbekistan and go to Afghanistan. And so he followed his advice and went with a very small army, conquered Afghanistan very easily and became king of Kabul. So after being in Kabul for some time, he went on an expedition to conquer India, and he tried 5 times. The first time he was successful in taking Peshawar and some northern areas of Punjab, which he retained actually for a long time. And then he made 4 other attempts, and finally actually an uncle of the Sultan of Delhi betrayed his nephew and invited Babur to come and conquer. And Babur had only 10,000 soldiers, whereas the Sultan had 100,000 in his army. But Babur had a secret weapon. He had cannons and explosives, which were not yet available in India at that time. So Sultan actually came on an elephant back and with a big army with elephants, whereas Babur came on horseback with cannons. But when the cannons threw the shells, the loud noise, the elephants were not used, and they ran amok, and there was confusion in Sultan Ibrahim's army, and he actually was killed in that battle. The battle was on April 21, 1526, at a place called Panipat, which is about 50 miles north of Delhi. But Babur lived only 4 years, and he missed the gardens and greenery of his Central Asia, so he laid out beautiful gardens all along the eastern shore of the river, and this is one of his first garden. It was called Arambagh, but nowadays people just call it Rambagh. And here he lived for 4 years, and 1530 he died over here. His body he wanted to be buried in Kabul in Afghanistan, but then his son actually lost the kingdom to a governor, and the son also had to flee from India. And so Babur remained here for some time, and when this other Afghan ruler came on the throne, he asked the widow of Babur to take the body back to Kabul, and he is buried there now in his favorite garden. This is the garden where he is buried. It was in a very pretty bad shape up to 2000, And in 2003, the Aga Khan Trust did a very beautiful renovation work, and it is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Back in Uzbekistan, Babar is immensely popular even now. In almost every city there are monuments to Babar. This one is in his hometown in Andijan, but he is not remembered so much as Emperor of India, and more as a literary figure and for his autobiography, which is immensely popular, and it is more copies of that are sold in Uzbekistan than anywhere else in the world. Then Humayun actually lost the kingdom. He was running for his life from one place to the other. He sought refuge in Kabul for some time, and then in Punjab, and finally he was in a place called in Umarkot in Pakistan, and there his son Akbar was born. He gave the name Akbar, but he was at that time fleeing and had hardly any followers, and but the name actually means great, and it's Quran. It's mentioned in the Quran for God. God is great. Allahu Akbar. Humayun then had to actually run and seek refuge in Persia with Shah Tahmasp. Shah Tahmasp was a Sassanid dynasty ruler in Persia, and this dynasty was a very liberal dynasty. They were followers of Sufi philosophy of Islam, and until Shah Tahmasp, all the rulers were very liberal, and all the administrative officers and people working for the government were all Sufi philosophy followers. When Shah Tahmasp came, he became almost like what is today Wahhabi, like the Taliban in Afghanistan, and lot of intellectuals, governors of provinces, they had to flee for their life, because he not only wanted to fire them but even kill them. So at that time, when Humayun came back to India from Persia, a lot of artists, authors, poets, Sufis came with him and after him, and at then just after Humayun, actually Akbar came on the throne, and Akbar actually was illiterate because he was not properly trained, because Humayun had to leave Akbar in India when he sought refuge in Persia for 10 years, and so his early years he had no education at all, and later on Humayun tried to get the best trainers to teach him languages, but he was more interested in painting than in language. So he actually invited artists to show stories and teach him literature. And Akbar had a fantastic memory, and he could recite whole books just in his memory. And so Humayun passed away, came from Persia in 1556, and just 6 months later he was in the library, and the muezzin called for prayer, and he started going down a staircase, and his robe got stuck with his feet, and he fell about 4 stories, and after 3 days he passed away. So Akbar at that time was just 13 years of age, but was already leading an army in Punjab, and he was crowned on the border of Pakistan and India at present, at a place called Kala Nor. So after Humayun's death, Akbar actually asked his mother, widow of Humayun, Hamida Banu Begum, to supervise the construction of this mausoleum, and they invited architects from Persia to design this building. And this building is perhaps the most important after Taj Mahal, because Taj Mahal itself was modeled on the basis of this building. So Akbar came on the throne as a young boy, and he was crowned on February 14, 1556 at Kala Nor. But he was extremely liberal and was very interested in philosophy and religions, and he actually wanted to have sort of people of different religions living in harmony. So he created a philosophy called I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, then finally he actually started his own religion called Deen-e-Ilahi, and that religion was a mixture of Christianity and Islam and some part of Jewish religion also. And but he was so liberal and so considerate that he did not allow preaching of that religion. So anyone who wanted to know about the religion had to be inquisitive enough to learn that religion and come himself without any pressure from anyone else. So already in the first decade of Akbar's rule, the India became so popular, it was known in Venice as the golden bird of the East. And traders and merchants and travelers and all sorts of European people wanted to come and visit and have trade with Akbar's empire. He ruled initially from Agra Fort, and he didn't have any children, so he was going to holy people and for asking their blessings to get a son to be the heir of the throne. And he came to know that there was a red stone quarry in a small village called Sikri, and there a Sufi saint used to live among the miners, and he was very popular and known, famous for his powers. So Akbar went to him and asked him for his blessings, and that saint Sheikh Salim Chishti prophesied that Akbar would have 3 sons, and Akbar decided to shift from Agra to Fatehpur Sikri to be near that saint, and he lived there, and his Hindu wife was pregnant, and she bore the first son, and that son was named after the saint's name, Salim. He later on became emperor as Jahangir. Jahangir means conqueror of the universe. So after him, Emperor Jahangir came on the throne. Jahangir was very literary minded, and he is one of the second Mughal emperor who wrote his own biography in his own handwriting in Persian language. And Jahangir became he was ill and later became addicted to opium and drugs, and he married many queens, but finally he married the 20th queen, who was a Persian lady. Her father was the governor of Shiraz in Persia, and he had to flee from Persia to come to India, and with a merchant he came with all his possessions to Akbar's court, but on the way actually they were looted and he lost everything that he had, and he came completely empty-handed in Akbar's court. But he was destined to be the most powerful nobleman for 3 generations of Mughals, and his daughter later became the Empress of India. So the 20th queen of Jahangir was the only queen who took the title of Empress and issued coins in her own name. And she was extremely talented. She was a very good designer, and also to some extent architect. She designed the building in which the mausoleum of her parents is. We'll be seeing that later. So Jahangir died in 1627 and in Lahore, and he's buried over there. And after that, his son Khurram came on the throne. Now Jahangir had actually revolted against his father Akbar, and in the tradition, Khurram, the son of Jahangir, also revolted against his father and fought a war actually against the Mughal army. And one Maharana of Udaipur gave him refuge, and he was given an island on which the Maharana built for him a white marble palace, and he lived there for about a decade. And he was so he liked the white marble so much that when he became emperor, he wanted to convert all red stone buildings into white marble, and was successful to some extent. He converted many buildings, and he was the builder of Taj Mahal, of course. He was contemporary to Louis XIV, and at that time French travelers were coming, and they told him about Versailles and told him that he had the title of Roi Soleil, the solar king, and he was very impressed because he thought sun was something very prominent and big. And he actually had left a note that on his grave a sun symbol should be there. So in Taj Mahal we'll be seeing on the head side there is a sun symbol. Now this is the portrait of Mirza Ghias Beg. He was the father of the 20th queen of Jahangir. Her name was Mehrun Nisa. Mehrun Nisa means the light of the sun. And when she married Jahangir, she got the title of Noor Jahan, which means light of the universe. So his elder brother of the Empress, Abul Hasan Asif Khan, he became a very prominent commander of Mughal army, and he was influential in getting Shahjahan on the throne, although he was not in line of succession. He was the 3rd eldest, but he was successful, and Shahjahan became the king because of his son's efforts. This is the portrait of Noor Jahan. It's in the Cleveland Museum of Art, and this was done by a Hindu artist. There were a lot of Hindu artists, especially miniature painting artists, who were working for Mughal emperors. and they continued right up to the 6th Mughal emperor. These are the coins that you see here that were minted to honor when she took the title of Empress Noor Jahan. This is the monument of Mirza Ghiyas Beg. It's called Itmat-ud-Dawla. This was a title given by Jahangir to him, which means trusted by God. Itmat means trust and Dawla means God. So this monument was built like a lady's jewelry box. So it's square in shape, and it doesn't have a dome. Instead, it has a flat dome, which is very unique. And what is very unique is that all the decoration is done with only 2 stones, jasper and black stone, black marble. And the other special thing is that this is the only monument in Mughal history where a flooring is done in floral design like you see here. So on the upper floor these are cenotaphs, and in the lower part there are the graves of the empress, Itmat-ud-Dawla rather. So Jahangir died in Lahore, and Noor Jahan was appointed as supervisor of his mausoleum, and she designed this mausoleum for him. And this is in a very big garden area where there are 3 very prominent mausoleums. This one is of Jahangir himself. The second one is of Noor Jahan, and the third one is of the brother of Noor Jahan, who was perhaps the most important commander of Mughal army. This is the portrait of Arjuman Banu Begum, and Arjuman Banu Begum was the daughter of Asif Khan, the brother of Noor Jahan, and she was only 14 years of age when they married, and she died in Burhanpur in June 17, 1631, and the body was kept there for 6 months, and then in a procession on a special silver carriage, her body was brought from Burhanpur about 500 miles north to Agra. It took about 20 days for the caravan to come to Agra, and wherever they stopped in between, this was the place where she was buried temporarily for 6 months in Burhanpur in central India, about 500 miles south of Agra. Now Burhanpur is about here, and Agra is here, Delhi is about here. This is Pakistan, this is Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan is somewhere here. So it took about 20 days, and wherever they stopped, they would distribute silver and gold coins in honor of the dead queen. When they came to Agra, this place was chosen for the mausoleum, and in the garden they built this square red stone and enclosure in which the temporary grave of Mumtaz Mahal was built. Her name was Arjuman Banu Begum, but she was given the title of Mumtaz Mahal, which means crown of the palace. Now this 42-acre area is completely for the queen, and the queen's body was in this building here right in the center, and Shahjahan's grave was added later. On this side is the in the west is the mosque, and this is a similar building which used to be used as a for guests, Mehman Khana it used to be called. In the north there is the river. The site was chosen that the river was going symmetrical also, so it makes a U curve behind the Taj Mahal. And then this is the south courtyard of the Taj Mahal, and most of the tourists enter from here and then go into the main gate, which is itself quite a monument. And from here they have the first view of the Taj Mahal, and then they come to the central platform, which became very famous after Lady Diana sat on the bench and had her photo alone. She came with Prince Charles, but at that time they were having already talks of divorce, and so Diana came alone to Taj Mahal, and she sat there, and prominent magazines like Life, Time talked about it, that they might get divorced. And this is the temporary grave of the Queen, and this is the east gate, and this is the south gate. Then the Mughals used to use a thin brick which used to be made at the spot where the monuments were being built, and this is a miniature painting showing how they built the brick kilns just near the monuments where they were working. Now in Taj Mahal, the foundations of the Taj Mahal are about 1.5 times deeper than the height of the Taj Mahal, and the Taj Mahal is resting on wells, and the walls of the wells were protected and preserved by putting wooden beams across. We'll see in the later picture here. Yeah, here you see. So this is a well, and these beams were put across like this and around so that the walls of the well would not collapse. And sal wood actually is very good in when it is kept moist, and it actually petrifies easily. So that was used for making preserving these wells. So the wells are somewhere here below, and then there are empty chambers here which are partly filled with soil and gravel. And across the river in the west, this is the Red Fort, which was built by the third Mughal Emperor Akbar, and Shahjahan changed many of the palaces in white marble over there. And the earlier monument that I showed you of Itmat-ud-Dawla, that is over here across the river. And Taj Mahal and fort are already UNESCO preserved sites, and UNESCO is advising the Indian government to declare the whole city as a preserved city, but builders and other people are sort of not interested in doing that. So here you see the dimensions. Actually Taj looks very small when you look from the main gate and in pictures also, but it's 187 feet on each side, on all four sides the same dimension. And the dome at its maximum is 93 feet, and the wall of the dome here at the maximum level is 10 feet wide. And there are two domes. So when you go into the Taj Mahal, into the central chamber, you see the cenotaph of the Queen and the King, Emperor, and you see this dome, which goes only 83 feet 6 inches, and then over above that 143 feet something is the second dome, and between this there is a hollow space, and you can actually go inside here. I'll be showing you pictures of that later. And the minarets are 137 feet, and minarets are slantly going outward. So in case of an earthquake, if they fall, they will not fall on the building, they will fall away from the building. And then when you go into the Taj Mahal, in the first chamber there is a stairwell going underground, and there in a very simple room with no floral no decoration on the floor, is the grave of the queen and the emperor. Here you see the artisans doing the inlay art. They use a variety of stones, semi-precious stones, carnelian, malachite, lapis lazuli, and the stones are cut and shaped on these wheels, which are turned by a hand, and they make various motifs on a piece of stone, and later they are placed on marble, where they etch cavities which are about 1/16 of an inch deep, and in these cavities those stones are then placed. And this ochre color that you see is just a temporary mineral color. When they polish it, dissolves and goes away. So Taj Mahal was neglected after the downfall of Mughals and in the early East India Company period, until Lord Curzon came on the Governor General's throne. And Indians were not allowed, and Taj Mahal was used as a private club for British Army officers and civilians. Now there is a rumor that the inlay work in Taj Mahal was done by Italians, and Italians came to India to do that work. Actually, there were Italian travelers who came to Shahjahan's court in Delhi, and one of them was Menucci, who brought this plate with the Orpheus playing the lute, and there were about 6 of these plates, and they are put in the throne's chamber in Red Fort of Delhi. But by the time Menucci came, the Taj Mahal was almost complete. Taj Mahal was completed in 1648, and he came in 54. But he lived a long time in the court of Shahjahan and Aurangzeb, and he also worked as a medicine man for Mughal rulers. This is the eastern gate of the Taj Mahal, where most of the tourists go. All the hotels are on this side. This is the interior of the western gate of Taj Mahal. The eastern gate interior is exactly like this. And these little cubicles, the shops, they were actually a caravanserai where people could, in olden days in Mughal Empire time, come and change their horses and live. This is the view of the Taj Mahal that you have when you first enter the main gate, inside the main gate. This is the main gate from interior with the gardens inside. On the main gate, the decoration is all done with black marble and white marble on red sandstone, and the carvings. In '94, when we went first time to Agra, we walked to the Taj Mahal one day, which is about 30 minutes from my home, and this is Joan sitting there at the famous bench. Then across this central platform, there are 2 musicians' galleries. In these buildings, the musicians used to play shehnai, which is a flute-like instrument, with a nagara, which is like a drum, and they used to play solemn music when emperor used to come to visit the Taj Mahal. Nowadays, it is one of them is used as a museum, which has some very special things. There are a lot of farmans, which are instructions given by Shahjahan, where you can see his handwriting and his signatures and the seal of the empire. And there is a bowl over there in which the food that was served to the Mughal emperor was put, and if the food was poisonous, it would become blue. So that was to test, and a lot of other things are in this museum over here. This is the floor design in front of the museum. This is just below the central platform. Then when Shahjahan was prince, he had revolted against his father and he lived on this island. This is called Jag Mandir Palace Island, and these white marble palaces were built for Shahjahan to live, and he lived there almost 10 years, and he was crowned as Emperor Shahjahan here. Then on the facade of the Taj Mahal and on the dome here, the work is done only with jasper and black marble. Unlike many other monuments, the decoration in the Taj Mahal is very simple, and that is one of the beauties of Taj Mahal, which gives it a very elegant look. And in 1979, I took permission from the Archaeological Survey of India in headquarters in Delhi to go on the roofs of Mughal monuments in Agra and Delhi and take photographs from top. So these are some photographs I have taken from one of the minarets, the southwest minaret of Taj Mahal. So you can go up here from front, and you come out here, and then behind this drum on which the dome is resting, there is a small little gate. You can go inside and you can see the upper part of the dome on the floor here. And when I went there, I saw that there were skating rink marks. So the British officers used to skate on the roof of the Taj Mahal. This is another view from the minaret. This was where I took the photograph of. This is the top part of one of the minarets. This is how the Taj Mahal looked in the morning in 1979. Most people walk about 1,000 feet from the main gate to the mausoleum, and about 1,000 feet to come to the main gate. So by the time you are in the mausoleum, you have walked already 2,000 feet. There are many different geometrical patterns on the floor. This is in the central part of the garden. The garden was designed in 4 quarters called Char Bagh, and this is the central lane has this design. The Char Bagh design was invented by Babur in his palace, which we saw earlier, and it was used in all mausoleums in Mughal period. This is a view from the southeast. Nowadays, a lot of domestic tourists come, so you see a lot of crowd on Taj Mahal, especially on the weekend. There are about 50 to 60,000 people in the Taj Mahal during the day. So best time when I take my tourists to Taj Mahal is in early morning at dawn. It's cold, but it's very little crowd. This is the terrace on the white marble platform, which is 20 feet higher than the red stone platform which you saw underground below. All 4 sides have this big arch in the middle and 2 small arches on the sides. Then the calligraphy on the Taj Mahal is very special. It has no effect of perspective. So when you stand below and look up, you don't see the upper part getting narrow. And that is done not by making the space narrower or broader. It is done by spacing of Arabic letters. So one can read the Quran. The whole Quran is written in Taj Mahal in various places. So you can, the people who can read, they can read right up to the top without any problem. Then in Taj Mahal they have some relief work, mostly indigenous plants and flowers, and around there is this inlay of semi-precious stones. This is the arch inside the bigger arch. In the corners of the arch they have used carnelian stone for red and lapis lazuli big pieces. This was our first group in 2006 when we took the study tour from Fresno State. We had 33 people in the group. This was a Clovis chamber group which I took. This is on the central platform in Taj Mahal. And this was our second group where we went to a workshop in eastern India to a little village called Madhubani, where we did a workshop on a special style of painting which is done only by women, and it was originally done on the walls of the houses, but nowadays they do on paper also and sell it. So we had a 1 week workshop there, and then we went to places of interest. So here you see the red stone platform. This is about 5 feet above the garden, and then 20 feet above is the other terrace, marble terrace around Taj Mahal. This is the inlay work outside the. Now this is the interior of the Taj Mahal. It has a marble screen, and there is the most intricate work of inlays in this area. And the Queen's grave in the center here. Now if you notice here on the floor there is a rectangular piece here. So you see the emperor's grave is crossing that decoration. It's because the monument was designed for queen only, so there was a pattern here which was going around the queen's grave only. And this marble screen was not there, but if when you go, actually you can see here there is a square. This was the place where there was a pillar and there was a golden screen around the queen's grave with precious stones. And in Aurangzeb's time they decided that they should not have such precious thing in the open, so they took it out and built the marble screen. Here you see this little flower is about 3 inches wide, and it has 81 pieces of stone. Only 2 stones are used, cornelian and mother of pearl. Here you see a more detailed version. So this is the queen's grave, and the emperor's grave was added later. On the side of the queen's grave here there are 99 names of God written in Arabic, and Arabic was not allowed to be written on the emperor's grave, so there are floral designs. These are top of the 2 graves. Emperor's grave has no writing, and as per his wishes the solar symbol is over there, and this actually denotes that it's a male grave. And on the queen's grave there is a verse from the Quran and the name of the queen, all in Arabic language. This is the front of the queen's grave. This is the pattern on the red stone platform. It's called chameli farsh, meaning jasmine floor. Here you see the mosque at dawn. This is the interior of the mosque. You see these little places. Here one person can sit and pray facing Mecca this side. Here is another view of the interior. Now these are the two stairwells going to the river, and the emperor's body was brought up here in the night and taken to for the burial inside the Taj Mahal. Here you see an aerial view. This is the river going behind Taj Mahal. This is the 42-acre area of the Taj Mahal, and this whole area was called Tajganj. It was actually for the artisans and caretakers of Taj Mahal. And here you have all the cheaper hotels. Now Shahjahan demolished red stone buildings in Taj Mahal and built his palace in white marble. And in this gallery he spent most of the time. It's called Musammam Burj. And here at a little terrace he died when in. This is the interior view of the palace. This is the view from hall of private audience. This was also taken by me in 79. This is a view of the interior of the Shahjahan's palace. It has a fountain with a beautiful design done in marble. And this is where Shahjahan passed the last years of his life. He died in 1666. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
A great lesson in history.
Sam, I know you have questions.
Pardon?
Great list in history.
Okay, I have some questions here from the chat. When will you do your next trip to Agra?
Pardon?
When is the next trip?
When is the next trip?
The next trip is a luxury tour. It is starting from San Francisco on 26th of October. And we are going 14 overnights, 15 days, visiting 7 cities with 14 overnight, 2 nights in each city. And 3 of the hotels in that trip are world's most luxurious hotels according to Condé Nast magazine and Travel and Leisure magazine. In one of the hotels, which is about 500 yards from Taj Mahal, you can see the Taj Mahal from your bed in every suite. The other hotel, which is also one of the most luxurious ones, has a swimming pool, private swimming pool in each room outside. And the third hotel, which is in Mumbai, is the first luxury hotel ever built in India. The founder of the hotel was Jamshedji Tata, and he wanted to build a steel plant to manufacture steel in India. So he was advised that he should go to England and seek a partner who can give technical help to build the steel plant. So he took a ship and went to London. When he reached London, they wouldn't allow him to go into the hotel to meet with the guy for whom he had traveled all the way. They said that you are black, you are not allowed. And he was actually not black, he was a Parsi, he was almost as fair as Western people. So they met in a pub in London, and at that time during the conversation he said that next time when you come to India, you will be staying in a more luxurious hotel than any in England. So when he came back in 1903, he built India's first luxury hotel. The price at that time was 9 rupees. Today the rupee is 81 rupees to $1. But at that time, rupee was much more valuable.
You mentioned that one of the emperors had like a Wahhabist philosophy. Did that extend like to racial stuff like it does in the modern era, or no?
Pardon?
So like you mentioned that like one of the emperors, he became like Wahhabist in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Did that extend to being like how in the modern sense it's like they believe like in Arab supremacy? Was that the same or no?
The Sassanid rulers actually were pre-Islamic. They came from the Zoroastrian period when fire worshippers were in Parsis were in Iran. They are still there in Iran actually, but most of the Zoroastrian population is in Bombay and Gujarat in India. And this founder of Taj Hotel in Mumbai is a Zoroastrian. And so Sassanids were Sufis originally, and up to Shah Ismail, that he was contemporary to Babur and Humayun, and his son was the first one, Shah Tamasp, who converted to this more rigid religion form. And the 20th queen, her father, he was actually a governor of Shiraz, and he was fired and he was afraid of his life, so he sold all his property in Shiraz and asked a merchant to come help him to come to India. And when they were crossing the mountain, some looters actually raided and took all his wealth away, and by the time he crossed into India, he was penniless. And actually he was so poor that at Kandahar, when the 20th queen, who later became Empress of India, was born, he said that we can't afford to take her with us, so we should give her away. And the mother said that no, even if I have to carry the child on my shoulders, I'll do that. So she came to India. Otherwise, we may never have had the Empress of India.
Where did the marble come from in the Taj
Pardon?
Mahal?
Pardon?
Where did they quarry the marble for the Taj Mahal?
The quarry of the Taj Mahal is in Rajasthan at a place called Makrana. It was in the territory of the rulers of Amber Fort, where nowadays tourists go on a elephant back on a hilltop palace. And Shahjahan actually wrote a request to the Maharaja of Mirza Raja Jai Singh to request him to expedite the marble for Taj Mahal. The marble used to come about 300 miles from the quarry to Taj Mahal, and there was a slope built which was 7 miles long, and that went right up to the dome level. So there on that dome, the elephants used to carry huge pieces. If you go up, you will see pieces about this big, like the screen, and about 2 feet, 2.5 feet deep. So it was very heavy, and these pieces had to be carried about 240 feet high. So these elephants used to carry them on the ramp. So when there was a delay, Shahjahan had written a note to Maharaja to expedite.
Any other questions? I have one more question. You mentioned that we did not have the calligraphy of the Quran on the king's tomb, on
Yeah.
the emperor's tomb. Why is that? Why is it different from the queen's tomb?
Actually, after Shahjahan died, the son who came on the throne was again a very rigid religious minded, and he did not want any Arabic writing. Actually, he didn't want the grave to be in a monument. He wanted the grave to be open to the sky, and but he allowed Shahjahan's grave to be in the monument, but he didn't allow any Arabic writing. So Shahjahan's name was written in Persian language.
So thank you so much, Rich.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Let me help you.